My name is Aisha Khan. I'm 28 years old, and 3 nights ago, my mother picked up my engagement ring, laughed in front of 8 people, and said, "Is this from a toy shop? Or did he win it in a giveaway?" Everyone laughed, not loudly, not cruelly, but enough. Enough that I felt it. Enough that I wanted to disappear. And then she added something worse. She turned to my cousin and said, "At least your husband knew what real love looks like." My fiancé was standing in the hallway. He heard everything, and what he did the next morning didn't cost him a single rupee, but it cost my mother everything she had spent 30 years building before. I tell you what happened. Take a second, only if this story feels real to you. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. I read every single one. Now let me take you back to the night everything broke, because nothing about this started at that dinner. It started years before that. Here's what you need to understand about my family. My mother, Farah Khan, is 55. She has one obsession status. Not happiness, not peace. She measures everything, jewelry, weddings, careers, even friendships based on how impressive they look to other people. She doesn't ask, "Are you happy?" She asks, "What will people say my father Aslam Khan is 60? Retired banker, quiet. The kind of man who nods even when he disagrees and calls that keeping the peace. Then there's my older brother Saad, 32, works in Dubai, drives a car. My mother mentions in every conversation imported, she always says like it's a personality trait. And then there's me, Aisha, the simple one. That's what she calls me when she thinks I'm not listening. I'm a school teacher. I make enough to live. I pay my own bills. I don't ask for money, and somehow that's never been enough for her. There's a photo wall in our living room, Saad's graduation, Saad's car, Saad in front of Burj Khalifa 3. Large frames. Me. 1. Photo family picture, half covered by a decorative lamp. I noticed that. When I was 19, I never mentioned it. But once you see something like that, you start counting everything. And then there's Hamza. My fiancé, 30, runs a small tech repair shop. Nothing flashy, no suits, no luxury watches, just quiet confidence. I met him 2 years ago when my laptop crashed the night before a major school presentation. Everyone else told me to come back in 3 days. Hamza stayed after. Closing, fixed it in 2 hours, refused extra money, said it's just work. You needed help. That's who he is. Doesn't perform kindness, he just lives it. 3 weeks ago he proposed, not in a hotel, not in a restaurant, on the rooftop of his shop, string lights, 2 cups of chai, and a small velvet box inside, a simple silver ring with a tiny emerald stone, not big, not expensive, but when the light hit it, it looked alive. I said yes before he even finished asking, because for the first time in my life I felt chosen, not compared, not measured, chosen. When I told my mother, she smiled too quickly, too perfectly. "What does he do again?" she asked. I told her, she nodded, then asked the only question that mattered to her. "How much is the ring?" I laughed. She didn't just be ready, she said. For what for? Opinions I should have listened. 3 nights later, she hosted a small family dinner, that's what she called it. But when we arrived, there were 8 people. 2 of her closest friends, my aunt, my cousin, and her husband. Everyone dressed like it was a celebration. Except it wasn't. It was a stage. And I didn't know I was the performance. The moment I walked in, she grabbed my hand, didn't hug me, didn't say congratulations. She lifted my ring toward the light, paused, smiled, and then that laugh. "Is this from a toy shop?" The room shifted. My chest tightened. I tried to laugh it off, but then she said it again, louder. "Or did he win it in a giveaway?" And that's when people laughed. Not because it was funny, because no one knew what else to do. Then she turned to my cousin. "Show yours." My cousin hesitated. I saw it just for a second, but she still raised her hand. A big diamond, bright, heavy, expensive. My mother nodded, satisfied. Like she had proven something, I slid my hand under the table, felt 15 again, small, embarrassed, invisible. And here's the part that changed everything. Hamza was standing in the hallway. He had heard every word, every laugh, every comparison, but he didn't react. Not then, not in that moment. He walked in calmly, sat next to me, placed his hand gently on mine, and said nothing. That silence was louder than anything my mother had said. Dinner continued, like nothing happened. My mother talked. Everyone listened. Like always. She mentioned venues, guest lists, how big the wedding should be. Things I never agreed to. Things she had already decided. Hamza barely spoke, but I could feel it. Something had shifted. Something quiet. Something final. That night in the car, he didn't start the engine immediately. He just sat there holding the steering wheel. Thinking I said, "I'm sorry." He shook his head. "Don't apologize for her." Silence. Then he asked, something no one had ever asked me before. "Has she always been like this?" I stared out the window, and for the first time I didn't defend her. "Yes," I said, just one word, but it felt like breaking a 28-year habit. At home we sat on the couch, no TV, no distractions, just truth. If one of your students told you this story, he said, "What would you tell her?" I didn't answer immediately because I knew I'd tell her it's not normal. I'd tell her it's emotional, manipulation. I'd tell her she deserves better, and saying it out loud felt like admitting something I'd been avoiding my whole life. He nodded slowly. "I don't want our future to look like this," he said. That hit deeper than anything else. Because for the first time, this wasn't just about me. This was about what comes next. "What are you going to do?" I asked. He looked at me, calm, certain. "I'm going to give her a chance to fix it." I didn't know what that meant. Not yet. But the next morning at exactly 9:12 a.m., he picked up his phone, dialed her number. The phone rang twice. Then she picked up. Her voice was warm. Too warm, the kind of warmth people use when they think they're in control. "Hamza Beta." "Good morning." I wasn't expecting. "I heard what you said last night." No greeting, no hesitation, just truth, silence. 1 second, 2. Then she laughed softly. "Oh, that you took it seriously. I was just joking." Hamza didn't respond immediately. And that pause shifted the power in the conversation. "You held her hand up," he said calmly, and asked if I won her ring in a giveaway. Another pause. Longer this time. "I was trying to lighten the mood," she replied. "She was already quiet," he said. "You didn't lighten anything." I was standing in the kitchen barefoot, holding a mug. I hadn't even taken a sip from listening to every word. "You're overreacting," she said, her tone sharpening just slightly. "Aisha has always been sensitive." There it was, the shift from denial to blame. Hamza didn't take it. "She's not sensitive," he said. "She's been tolerating this for years." That landed. I felt it in my chest because no one had ever said that out loud before. "If she has a problem with me." My mother snapped. "She can say it herself." "She has," he replied. "You just don't listen." Silence again, heavier. Then she said, "I am her mother," and in her voice that meant I am right. Always, without question. Hamza didn't argue with that. He just said, and that's exactly why this matters. "I'm not calling to fight you. I'm calling to give you a chance." "A chance for what?" "To fix what you did." I held my breath. "I want you to apologize to Aisha properly. Not if she misunderstood. Not if she felt hurt. For what you said, for how you said it, and for doing it in front of others." The silence stretched. "Then I don't owe anyone an apology for having standards. I want the best for my daughter." "Is that a crime?" "No," Hamza said, "but embarrassing her isn't love." "You think I embarrassed her?" "You did." I was being honest. "No," he replied, "you were being cruel." That word hung in the air, and for the first time she didn't respond immediately, because deep down she knew. But instead, she pivoted. "I have done everything for that girl, and this is how. I'm treated by a shopkeeper calling me in the morning." Shopkeeper. There it was again. Hamza didn't react, emotionally. "You're doing it again. You're trying to make this about me. It's not. This is about how you treat her." I will not be spoken to like this. That's your choice. If you can't take responsibility, we won't be part of anything you're planning. What does that mean? It means we won't be attending any event where Aisha is disrespected. Are you threatening me? No, I'm protecting her. Click, she hung up. I stood there, still, my heart racing not from fear, but relief. For the first time, someone had said everything I never could and didn't apologize for it. 40 minutes later, my phone rang, her name on the screen. I answered. What is wrong with him? She snapped. He called you to talk. You hung up. He attacked me. At 9 a.m, he repeated what you said. That's not an attack. I am your mother. He said he has no right to question me. Mom, you laughed at my ring. I was surprised. There's a difference. You compared it to someone else's. I want better for you. The same cycle every time, hurt, justification, blame, control. I almost slipped back into it, but then I stopped, Mom. He gave you a chance to fix it. And I don't need one. If he doesn't apologize by Friday, the engagement party is canceled. What engagement party? The one I've been planning for 70 people? I didn't ask for that. It's already arranged. You will not embarrass me. I'm not coming. You don't mean that I do. You will show up or don't bother. Calling me your mother, I have to go. And I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from breaking something. Within an hour, the calls started. My aunt, my cousin, my father, everyone saying the same thing. Calm down, apologize, move on. Then my brother. Don't create drama, just handle it quietly. I stared at it because that's what I had done my whole life, handled it quietly. Hamza watched me read everything and said, they're trying to pull you back into the same system. I looked up and for the first time I saw it. Clearly not as family, but as a pattern. Then we don't go back, I said. Then we changed the rules that afternoon. We sat at the table, laptop open, and made a decision. Then Hamza said, I'm going to write something they can't twist. And when he started typing, I realized this wasn't just going to be a message. This was going to expose everything.